There's a good bit of tearing in the gospel stories. We've read in weeks past that when they interviewed Jesus, they thought he taught blasphemy and they tore their clothes. I'd like to share with you a meditation this evening on the idea of the curtain being torn from the top to the bottom, the veil in the temple, most likely that veil that marks off and protects the very presence of God in the Holy of Holies. Matthew follows Mark's words almost completely. But Mark, in his story, has a different thing going on with these words. Mark all along has been toying with the idea of how the Son of God and the tearing go together. In the scene at Jesus' baptism, the same word, God tears the heavens open and announces and identifies Jesus as his Son. Later on the Mount, at Thomas's confession, again, the declaration that this is my Son, and the same sort of rending. And then, now, at Jesus' death, Mark finishes once in the beginning, once in the middle, the perfect middle, and then once at the end, a tearing. And the observation is that at Jesus' death, the curtain tore, passive. It's God doing the tearing. God tears the curtain, and the image we think is to make open and accessible that Holy of Holies. The words are the same, but in Matthew's gospel, they, I think, take different nuance. There may be several things in Matthew's mind. For one, I think he's trying to show that Jesus is being vindicated. The temple authorities had been threatened by Jesus and his popularity. Jesus had said he's going to take this temple down and build it again. Remember, that proved to be instrumental in Matthew's account of the trial before the Jewish authorities. And they thought they had charge of the temple, and the idea that Jesus would change the temple or could rule at the temple or exercise authority at the temple just seemed to them to be ludicrous. But that temple coming down is made all too apparent when marking the death of Jesus, the temple curtain tears. Matthew has it clustered with several other events. As Matthew sees it, it's this momentous moment, the changing of the ages. A new thing is occurring. God's kingdom is breaking in even more emphatically and dramatically. It's been marked that his birth has been marked by these special occasions, and now his death is marked by these special occasions. These are dramatic, kind of wild, end of time, end of the world kind of things, apocalyptic images. But notice, we're not waiting till the end of time. They seem to pour over now, even now, at this launch of the kingdom, this new beginning, this new place in the history of salvation. And those radical end of time things are now pouring in now to mark the occasion. Matthew notices that the curtain tears, the earth shakes, the rocks break, and the tombs, they're broken open. And in anticipation of Jesus' own resurrection, it seems some are brought to light and others there in the town witness it. These dramatic events, no doubt, in Mark's gospel moved the young guard. I call him young, I'm not sure why. When he is moved to declare that Jesus is truly the Son of God. In Matthew's version, I think it's more about who is finally right and what is spoken in Jesus proves to be true. And this curtain is severed. And the ritual going on in the temple is brought to a devastating judgment. Matthew may have something else going on in mind in this idea of the curtain tearing. Matthew, remember, in just the chapter will give us the Great Commission. We kind of forget how the Great Commission's right there with the resurrection story in Matthew. And the risen Jesus will tell his own that they now have a commission to go to the entire world. It's not going to be this ethnic group worshiping around the temple. That's not the way God's presence will be known. That's not the way access to God will be done. Instead, now, God's presence will be accessible to everyone through Jesus Christ. The book of Hebrews uses this word, veil, 3 times. Other key words, the temple and so on, are missing, but the image, I think, is unmistakable. In chapter 6 of Hebrews, they talk about this Melchizedek. Remember him? And he is one who's envisioned as anticipating this one who would come and one who would know and enter the presence of God. Another echo in chapter 9. And then in chapter 10, verses 19 and 20, the instruction given to us that we, as children of God, this is so different. We can boldly go into God's presence. The image there, you go read it, it's interesting. The veil image is there, but the veil seems to be replaced by the flesh of Jesus. It's not the curtain that keeps us anymore. It's not the liturgy from which we know so much about holiness and we're indebted and so on. Instead, now, it's knowing the Son who's come in flesh. When we can go to God through Him, we can boldly go in to be in God's presence. And on this dark day, before Easter Sunday morning and the light dawning, even then, the world could not contain what was going on. The earth shakes, the rocks break, the tombs, they're open, and that curtain is torn. In what we were not ready to engage, now in Jesus Christ, through His flesh, we can boldly enter in and know God's presence and know His forgiveness.